we're just starting. And we're back.
I'm pretty sure that's not a number. But...
You're not a number. Hello, we're back.
Well, yeah, of course I'm not a number.
Hello.
We're back with more D&D.
More. Let's go look up.
Awooga.
I just realized I didn't shower today. I'm sitting here like, oh, what's that fucking smell? Oh, it's me.
Oh my gosh. Do it later.
Which is weird because like, I've told some of you that like I have this thing about smelling bad. I'm terrified of like, it's like a form of halitophobia where it's just I'm not afraid of having bad breath, but I'm afraid of like smelling bad in public in general. So I take like 4 showers a day.
Well, we can't smell you, so let's get back to D&D.
Yeah,
I like being a clean boy. In any case, so it has been about 2 days since the assault on the Stormwolf, and repairs have gone relatively slowly, given the fact that a large chunk of the ship's wood was torn away by a kraken, and much more of it torn away by the giant elemental avatar that had quite closely wiped out the entire party. But Ethan, Ethan, I swear to Christ,
we're all still alive, so like, I don't know if that's really accurate.
Fenkin took no damage. Okay, Connor. I'll get him.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll get him in Crystalline Chaos. You're going on a dungeon crawl.
We have our spell slots back and everything.
Yes.
Yes. It's at this point you have healed up and you do have your spell slots back. But for these two.
Oh my god.
But yeah, essentially over the course of these 2 days, where repairs are happening around the ship, I'm just opening it up to roleplay, so you guys can. At this point, Captain Talnaris, after having saved her crew, after having run an errand for her, she has made a beeline towards Port Zoon, which is where you are currently sailing towards, as per your agreement. But during these 2 days, what is everybody doing?
Can I have Kira approach Nox?
Sure.
Yes.
Where and when would be a good time?
Probably down wherever they're sleeping, like in wherever their sleeping quarters are.
Okay.
Are you my mom?
No. Nox, is there a specific part of the ship that you've been hanging out about a bunch?
Probably. I mean, I assume that she does want to be in close quarters with the rest of the shepherds, so she's got her bedroll kind of near them. But she also she's always kind of been this way, where she's anytime that the party kind of hunkers down for the night together, she is a little bit further away from everybody because she likes to be able to like get up or move around without disturbing anyone. So she's got her little edge of the room, but yeah, we can say that she's like, this can happen at a time where she's just kind of sitting on her bedroll, maybe polishing her sword.
Down near the Vinn, stop smiling at that. Down at the brig where like the other pirates sleep on hammocks and stuff. You've got your nice little corner over there. But as you're cleaning Courage of the Rose, making sure the golden blade is almost to a mirror-like sheen, you see the other sort of tabaxi of the group approaching you.
Yes, she will look up at him very briefly and then look back down, and her ears are turned towards him, but her eyes, her attention is on the sword that she's cleaning, and she says without looking up, Kit, how are you?
Kira gives kind of like a brief nod. He's like, I'm alright, but I have something I want to discuss with you. And he kind of like ends it on like a question mark. He's not really sure.
She, still not looking up, says, are you certain about that?
No, not really, but I'm not really sure who else to go to.
When a mommy cat and a daddy cat love each other very much.
Oh, goodbye.
No, Sophie, come back.
Welcome back.
Sophie did not like that joke. Sophie does not want to hear about mommy cats and daddy cats. She's too pure. She will, after a couple of seconds, stop what she's doing and look up at him properly, and then nod her head towards an amendable space on the floor, kind of across from her, that he can sit in.
And he takes that offer and he kind of settles down cross-legged. And as he's sitting down, he reaches into his pocket. He's not wearing his armor right now. He has it set aside somewhere because he's currently polishing it. But he pulls out the amulet that had fallen out of Denian's pocket, how long ago it was. And he kind of holds it out.
It's like a couple of days ago, I guess.
It's been like maybe about a week probably by now.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going back to my notes to remind myself what the amulet looks like.
Has a eye on it, a yellow dragon eye, I think is what it is.
Yeah, eyeball.
Okay. Big ol' eyeball. Yeah, so she will look up, and as with anything shiny and potentially valuable looking, she, of course, is interested in it immediately. She sets Courage of the Rose aside and leans forward and squints a little bit and says, "Now, where did you get this?"
And then Kira, with his free hand, kind of rubs the back of his neck as his ears go back. He's like, well, one point when I was being taught how to use the cannons by Denian, he rushed off to go do something and this fell out of his pocket. I meant to give it back, but I had actually forgotten to.
I see. Well, it is a little bit too late for that now, but she will she will reach out and take it, and she would cast Identify. I happen to know that he already did that.
Yeah.
So she will not this time. But she will hold it in her hand for a second and kind of smooth her thumb over the eye emblem that's on it. And then she will say, "Well, not that I blame you for not knowing this upon setting your eyes on it for the first time, but given the eye on this item and the rather large eye that graced the stomach of that horrible creature that we fought a few days ago, I would guess that this was probably a hint towards his true allegiances, no?"
Kira just kind of gives a nod, not fully understanding because he's still not really sure what the object is.
Connor, why? Oh, nice. Good job. Inspiration point for the DM.
Yeah, maybe if you have an inspiration point, Connie, you can re-roll some of those attack rolls.
Ethan,
and you
I
might
want
actually
to
kill
live.
one of
I don't want to make a new character. I want to live, please.
You mean you don't have a fourth character prepared?
I mean, I do have other characters I can use, but I don't want to use them.
Backup characters, I swear to God.
I'll make a bard that's a dog instead of a cat.
Connor, no, put the book down.
So she looks at it for a few seconds and kind of turns it around, in her paws, and says, "Well, the bastard won't be needing it now, clearly. I doubt that an item such as this, given its associations, is worth very much. But it is an interesting keepsake, is it not?"
Kira nods. He's like, yeah, I mean, if anything, it looks cool.
It does look cool. And she will look up at him and say, "I don't suppose you are particularly attached to holding on to this, are you?"
Kira shakes his head.
"Then I will take care of it." And she puts it in her pocket. And then as she does that, she looks back up at him with a squint, kind of the like looking him over, semi-critical squint that she often has, really when she looks at anyone.
Kira's ears go back.
Really, when she looks at anyone, but I imagine, especially often when she looks at Kira, she kind of has that look and says, "Now, since you are here, and since you have asked me a question, is it fair that I return the favor?"
Kira's eyes kind of shift around a little bit. He's like, all right, go ahead.
Are you a natural-born Tabaxi?
He gives a nod. He's like, yes, I am.
Ah, but you are clearly not entirely. You are, I would guess, half human. No?
I am, yes.
I see. And she leans in even more, and you kind of see her ears prick forward in like that interested way, and she probably sniffs him. It's not that weird. She's a cat.
She's
like,
Just gonna preface that first.
When you
It
have
would
to
be weirder if
immediately
she
follow it
wasn't.
up with "It's not that weird."
It would be weirder if it was like a human or something.
Yeah,
like just
exactly. If it was
Mm.
if it was Fenkin, it would be a little bit weird, but it's not that weird.
I knew you were gonna use Fenkin. I knew.
She does kind of like sniff for a second, in much the same way that a cat might when meeting another cat. And then after a couple of seconds, she sits back a bit and says, "Well, if I am not overstepping, what is your parentage?"
And Kira cocks his head a little bit. He's like, what exactly do you mean?
Well, if I have any understanding of how breeding works, I assume one of them was a Tabaxi and the other one was likely a human.
Kira
Is it-
gives a slow nod. He's like, well, I don't really know my parents, but from what I remember, my mother was a full Tabaxi.
I see.
Her name was Knox.
And where are you from, kid?
Oh, you know, here and there. Never really had a place of my own until I was taken in.
Ah, a very avoidant answer.
Hmm.
Do you not know, or would you rather not speak of it?
I'd rather not speak of it, if you don't mind.
She hums, and she'll kind of like shift to cross her legs, and you'll see her tail kind of curl over into her lap and say, "Okay, well, fair enough, I suppose. But then, if I may ask one more question,
Go ahead.
I understand, of course, this has come up before, your excursion into the Feywilds that ended up with us happening to meet as chance were. Connor, are you okay?
I'm good.
I just hear a cat meowing in the background. Whose cat was
Yeah.
that?
That small meow, I will assume, was Kira's answer.
Yes.
Yeah, if anybody wants to make an animatic of that episode, make sure Kira's just meowing during this entire bit.
That's
Good,
it. He
very
doesn't
good.
speak. He just meows.
He just meows. She will look at him again with that critical look. Shut up, Joe. I'm trying to talk.
That's Kira.
She will look at him with that critical look and tilt her head and say, "What were you escaping from?"
Kira, still with his ears pasted to his head under her scrutinizing gaze. I wasn't necessarily escaping from anything. Was just curious, more so, about the powers that the Feywild possessed.
Curiosity is a trait that we are said to possess in bountiful amounts.
Unfortunately.
And perhaps if I did not know more about us, our people, I would buy that explanation. For it does seem that very often we do things that do not make much sense simply because they fill our fancy. But, my friend, although you are an odd one, I do not believe that you are a stupid one. and I do not believe that you are unaware of the incredible dangers of the Feywilds, and specifically the difficulties that often happen when you try to return. Now, not many people would bother with trying to explore a realm that so often claims the souls of those that venture into it, unless they felt that they perhaps had nothing to return to, or maybe would be better off not returning. So, I suspect that there is a little more to that answer, but I also suspect that you do not wish to share it. And frankly, that is fine. I am tired, so we do not have to talk about it.
Kira kind of shifted a couple times while she was speaking. Clearly a bit uncomfortable by the situation, not wanting to talk too much about his life. And he just kind of nods, and he's like, maybe one day we'll go into further explanation.
Maybe one day. All right. I will mark a page, set it aside for that story. And then
We'll mark a date, and you will tell me.
you will tell me on December 21st.
2 years from now, I will hunt you down, and I'll get my answer.
Well then, and she will move her sword back into her lap, to continue to polish it, and say, "Then how are you finding our little group?"
Odd, to say the least. Can't say I've ever met a stranger group of people.
I would agree with you, and I too have met many a strange person, but this group leaves that all behind, I would say, for sure. As our DM is doing.
And at that, Kira kind of moves to stand up again, and he's like, "Well, I'll leave you to it. I don't want to be too intrusive."
You're very considerate, or perhaps more likely, very timid. But I suspect we will break you of that soon enough. No?
No.
Please don't break Kira.
She kind of looks at him. She kind of looks at him with a smile that's like half, like, kind of jeering, but also half like genuine. And she will nod at him and say, "All right. On your way then, Kira."
With his ears still back and his tail practically tucked between his legs, he takes off back to his own spot.
R.I.P.
Baby.
Okay. So, what else is it? What is everybody else doing? Is there something like anybody wanted to get done on the ship? What?
I'm fleeing off Rebella. I'm anywhere she is not.
Yeah, as you guys kind of like go about your daily duties on the ship, you will every now and then see like Dhuur'in, kind of like just running away from Arabella, who's chasing him, arms outstretched.
I want to know if Oz could go talk to the captain.
Absolutely, yeah. On like the second day of sailing, it's been a few days since the captain has come out of her quarters. Obviously, quite a bit shaken to find that her quartermaster is a turncoat, and also a bit shaken by the events of. Well, it's not every day you see a zombie kraken. But Ozla, you do find time after your chores to head on down to the doorway to her quarters, and giving it a swift couple of knocks, she does eventually open the door, and you find she looks a bit more disheveled than she usually does. Her golden hair is not combed as it usually is. Her hat is off, and she seems to still be in her sleepwear, despite the fact that it's 12 in the morning.
How dare you say that when I'm still in my sleepwear from it's 7 o'clock at night right now. But yeah, Oz is gonna go in there, and she's gonna be she is a bit more timid than she usually is. but she sort of just bows to the captain really quickly and steps inside. And she looks around the room and she goes, can we... I have questions, but no answers.
The room is kind of a mess. You can see one wall just has a bunch of daggers kind of like buried into it along with her sword. And as you step into the room, she like shuts the door with a slam and she's like, "Yes, darling, of course. What can I do for you?" And you can tell she's been drinking with the way she kind of like sways and slurs her words.
Oz saw these words and she sniffs it and she goes, are you drinking whiskey?
Rum, actually, yes.
On the rocks?
In the bottle.
It happens to the best of us. Can I have a swig of that?
She like reaches over and grabs like a half-empty bottle, and she kind of takes off the cork and like passes it to you before like slumping down in her chair. Now, what can I do for you, Miss Highhill?
Oz knocks the bottle back, very like almost furiously.
It burns going down.
Good. We love the burn. But as it goes down, she pulls it back and she slams it on the table a bit. And is there a chair opposite the captain?
There is, yes, at her dining table.
She has a hard time getting up on that chair, but she will get up on that chair. She sort of settles on the chair, and she looks a bit somber. And she sort of taps her fingers and waits for a bit before she looks at her and she goes, when I was younger, my captain told me stories about Okatoa. I remember the stories, but I didn't know that they were warnings. And I think it's time that I grew up and listened to those warnings. I want to know what you know about Okatoa.
I don't know much beyond what anybody else knows, I'll be completely honest with you. But Okatoa is a great Leviathan, perhaps the greatest among them all. Bigger than any kraken, and some say, indeed, perhaps bigger than the world. I would never know, I've never seen the creature. In fact, it hasn't been seen for quite some time. Evidently it's trapped somewhere beneath the waves, if the stories are meant to be understood. From what I understand, he had quite a big part to play in the time of divergence, but beyond that, I'm afraid my knowledge is a bit quieted.
You don't know... I don't know why they wanted me or my crew, and I am confused on why out of the entire revelry it was my ship that sunk.
Who knows with cultists, darling? They have their marks and their targets, and perhaps you were just unlucky enough to be chosen, I suppose, by a fanatical group who believes in fanatical things.
I guess it just doesn't make sense to me. Nothing that I have learned now makes sense to me anymore. I've never felt so lost on the sea. It's always been home. You're drunk and I am spilling out absolutely everything that I've got on my fucking plate, and I don't... Can I get you some water?
I don't drink the stuff.
You know what? That's a very good decision. Can I get you whiskey? Can I get you vodka?
Yes, absolutely. You can get me whiskey.
All right. And she's gonna go and rummage around in her little... I'm assuming alcoholic like fridge that she has somewhere in there.
Thank you, darling. I haven't had a hangover like this ever since I went drinking with that little goblin. What was his name? Namfoodle, something like that. I don't know. remember.
Connor, you can't do this to me, man! I just learned that they're all dead! She's holding the bottle, and I'm assuming it's a glass bottle. Yeah, she breaks it. She squeezes so hard that the glass just shatters in her hand, and she turns around and says, say that name again?
Apologies, Ukatoa?
No, the Namfoodle.
Oh, Namfoodle, yes. Some
When?
purveyor of trinkets that I met on Port Zoon.
When? How long ago?
Perhaps last time we were in port? 7 months
When?
ago? 7 months ago. Darling, what's gotten into you?
They said... I knew they were liars! Namfoodle was part of the Needle.
What? What?
When we first went into the Feywild, we got another sort of creature attacked her somewhere and said everyone was dead. But you saw Namfoodle 7 months ago in Port Zoon.
How much have you had to drink, darling?
Not enough. 7 months. 7 months.
Yes, 7 months ago to the day, I believe. Why?
He was there 2 years ago as well. That means he's staying there. He's living there. He's alive. He's alive. I'm not the last needle point anymore. He's alive. He's alive.
It's at this point where, like, she's holding a bottle of rum and she looks at it and she just, like, sets it back down on the table next to her.
How far away are we from Port Zoon? How long?
About a day's sail, thereabouts.
Oh my god. Is there any way we can say I will do anything what you need, but can we step on it? Is there I don't even remember.
Could you repeat the question, darling? I'm very drunk.
It's okay, Cap. You've given me enough hope to keep me going. Thank you.
You're welcome, I suppose.
And then Oz is she's gonna slam the bottle an extra bottle that she didn't break, and slam it down on the table next to her, and leave. But enjoy.
She watches you go, and she blinks, and she's just like, I need more halflings on this ship. And as you leave the captain's quarters, you see that the entire deck is just abuzz with activity. There's crew members like hauling pieces of lumber towards areas that need to be fixed. You can see pirates just like with their shirts off, like banging nails into the floor. And as you look up, you can also see Windsock doing her magical thing of like blowing wind into the sails.
Oz is gonna. When she sees Windsock, she sort of cups her hands around her mouth. She goes, "Excuse me, man."
Windsock jumps in, and she like puts her paws on the edge of the crow's nest and looks over. Yes.
If I give you one of my socks, will you blow that harder?
Her eyes, boom, and then her pupils, and she says, "Yes, yes, I do, yes."
Oz is gonna rip off her boot and like sort of like tie her sock into some like little projectile and just shoot it towards this little cat.
So as you ball up your sock and like pitch it up towards Windsock, she like grabs it and like folds it out and looks at it and then just like ties it to her belt. And then you watch as she like rolls up her sleeves, and with her eyes glowing blue, she brings back her arms, and then suddenly, whoom! There's nothing for a moment. And then a gale force of wind almost knocks you off your feet, Ozla. A bunch of pirates like do end up taking a tumble as the ship suddenly like lurches forward. Everybody just being like, "What? It's the Kraken again!"
Oz just yells out, "Aka!" and I think goes off to find Fen somewhere.
As the ship, it was moving along at like a normal ship pace, but now it's like a motorboat through the water. In the captain's quarters, like Captain Talnaris was taking a swig, and like the table started to like move away, and she's just like. But yeah. Oh, I love D&D.
Information away from me, you little.
Yeah, but all at once, you guys all feel it too. Gesh, you might be in the kitchen with mutton chops, and he might be showing you how to like make something into a soup. He's like holding up the tub for you to see, and you're peering inside to like check it, and then suddenly like you lurch forward, and your head's just in the soup. Fenkin, you were probably like sitting on the floor reading a book, and you slide back and hit the wall, and you're confused at first until you see Nilo tumbling towards you, and you're like, no.
It'd be funny because in my I was thinking that he was also up on top of the deck, waiting for Ozla because he's been stalking her like a hawk this entire time, just like acting like a bodyguard. And Nilo nearly pushes him over deck into the water.
And I imagine Dhuur'in just like doesn't even notice it. He's just reading a book like, oh, that's interesting.
Oh, he's very used to this.
Oh my god. But yeah.
I should have tossed up both my socks. I mean, be there now.
About 8 hours pass of the ship motoring along, with everybody going about their duties, and but during high noon, when the sun is blazing down onto the deck, there's suddenly the ringing of a brass bell, and anybody on the deck at the time will look up to see Windsock just like clanking a bell, and you hear her shout, "Land ho! Land ho!"
Oz scales the rat tails that go up the side of the ship and just hangs off to have a look at what's there. What is in front of them.
Alright, so as you climb and grab onto the rope to like peer out, at first you don't really see what it is that Windsock is looking at until the fog parts. And you do indeed see land in the distant horizon. You see sparkling towers and lights. You see other ships coming into dock. You see the bay of crystal clear blue water. Ladies and gentlemen, shepherds of all ages. Gentlemen, welcome to Port Zoon and Nicodranas. And also welcome to level 5.
Yeah!
Okay, cool.
And we're leaving off today's game!
2 Eldritch Blast.
Oh, God.
Eldritch Blast per round.